Hello everyone, and welcome to the Go Setups VIP Trophy here in New York State at the Watkins Glen International Circuit. And this is the penultimate round of our championship. And if we do take a look at the standings, with 2 drop rounds to be calculated into the matter, Manuel Benz has won the championship, as he is now uncatchable from Cam Carter or any of the other drivers behind. However, the battle over P2 in the championship is still very much on, with Cam Carter and Tadeusz Szynski separated by just 6 points. And then we do have a close battle for P4 in the championship as well, with Balázs Feher in his familiar position at the front of the train, ahead of Thomas Perello, Roland Stricker, Busso, Jeremy Thomas, and Terje Fredriksson. Actually, going all the way down through the top 15, very close. And well, we'll have to see over the next couple of rounds as those drop rounds start to be calculated. It could shuffle the order up considerably, as we turn our attention to tonight's qualifying session. We've already had a couple of drivers setting their first flying laps, and the time, as ever, being set by Manuel Benz. He's at the top of the standings. We're 1:53.537, already some 0.8 of a second clear of the rest of the field, and with 16 minutes left to go in this qualifying session, I think it's going to remain to be seen how much faster can he go, and who can get the closest to our champion in waiting, as a number of other drivers are beginning to set their first flying laps. Returning driver Sergi Sebastian in the Mario Kart liveried car there. See if we can see where it's actually taking its Mario Kart inspiration. It's not the most obvious of inspirations, apart from the rear wing. Oh, and yeah, mushroom piston. It's got some Mario Kart influences in there. We'll let him off as Sergi rounds the final few corners. And will be setting his first flying lap of the session. See, is he capable of challenging Benz? That is the closest we've seen so far, just 4.5 tenths off. I say just, it's still quite the gulf at the top, but Sergi Sebastian still has plenty of time to find some more pace and trying to close that gap. And as it seems, most of our eligible drivers have now set their first flying laps of the session. We're on the lookout for the improvers as Busso, the bulldozer, crosses the line and improves up to P6. We're 1:44.2. Got a good number of drivers sitting in those low 1:44s. Only Benz and Sebastian breaking that 1:43 barrier. And see, can anyone else get themselves up there? With Luke Tranmer currently sitting on a 1:44.002. He will be trying to find those extra couple of thousands to get into that all-elusive 1:43 club. There's another driver who we have seen some pace from in previous rounds, Manuel Antrax. Is currently faster on this lap as the top 2 drivers currently running the brand new, or the reasonably new, Ferrari 296. And Antrax will be looking to position himself up there with his fellow Ferraris, with just one corner remaining on this Watkins Glen circuit. Oh, and Antrax trying to use all of the track, ended up using a little bit too much there. Quite a heavy collision with the wall. We'll see him not improve on this lap. As actually Terj Fredriksson looking for an improvement. Already up on his best in that bright yellow Lamborghini. A tight exit of the final corner. Potentially some time to be found there by using some more of the track. But does improve on this lap up to a 1:44.5. Puts him P9 for now, just ahead of Sam McCarthy. As looking down our order, we have got the top 10 of Benz, Sebastian, Schricker, Tranmer, Busso, Carter, Fahir, Antrax, Fredriksson and McCarthy. But in the battle for P2, it's Tadeusz Szynski, who's currently a little bit out of place, currently down in P11 in this qualifying session. Could prove costly for his championship standings. Though that being said, Watkins Glen, a track that you can overtake with only a minor mistake from the car in front of you. So being out of position in qualifying, not necessarily the death sentence that it might be at other circuits. As Manuel Benz goes yet faster, for 1:43.225, slightly opening that gap back to Sebastian. As Balazs Fahir crosses the line with a 1:44.3, P7 for now, and will refuel, change his tyres and get back out there to see if he can improve on that time. As continuing to go strong is Terj Fredriksson. Rounding final corner of the circuit again. Not using all of that exit curb, just giving that wall a little bit of a wide berth. Potentially some time to be found there. As Fredriksson improves up to P7. Still just out of the 143s. And we now have 5 drivers in the 143s. Ben, Sebastian, Schricker, Tranmer and Busso all in those 143s. Becoming less of an exclusive club. As further down the order, we're seeing improvements from Paul Cook. Another Lamborghini on our circuit tonight. As he rounds the final corner. Using a little more of the circuit there than we've seen from Terj. As he crosses the lines, remains P20, but does improve his time. Now just 0.2 away from Matthias Peltzer ahead. And with track temperatures at 31 degrees, I think the tyre life on these qualifying runs probably somewhat limited by that, and it's why we're seeing a number of drivers returning to the pits before continuing on their qualifying stints. There's Paul Cook continuing to find a little bit of pace, just missing an apex there on the corner. Doesn't officially have a name, but we will be referring to as Ankle Corner throughout this broadcast. Well, it should be called. There's Felix Kotick, a driver who will be familiar to those of you who watch the Porsche Cup broadcasts, driving the BMW in the VIP series in that Miami-inspired livery. Is it called the chute? I thought that was the corner before. Well, that's the loop. Yeah, you might be right. They might be called the Shoot. It would make sense. Call out to Miata in chat there. Thank you for the useful information. That's why it would have been useful to have you in the commentary box if I hadn't been too lazy. There's Sergio Sebastian pushing on, looking to find some more pace as this session passes the midpoint with just over 7 minutes remaining. We've got yellow flags out on the circuit. Won't be a problem for Sebastian at this point. Using all of the curbing as he challenges his way forward. He's got the McLaren ahead. I'm not sure who that is ahead of him, as they run deep to allow Sebastian through. I think whatever benefit he may have got from the toe there just neutralised in the unpredictability into the corner. Is now losing out on this particular lap. As Manuel Benz continues to find more and more pace, now sitting on a 1:43.180. As Balashvehit running yet another different livery. I've only broadcast a few of these races and I'm pretty sure he's run a different livery on every single one of them. As you know, that's a lie. I think he maybe ran the Subaru livery twice. Now running the completely pink BWT livery, which Formula One fans, slightly reminiscent of the Racing Point livery, although I know BWT have run similar liveries across other motorsport disciplines throughout the years. And there's Jeremy Thomas crosses the line to try and find a bit more pace, moves himself up into P13 with that attempt. 1:44.8. And Tadeusz Szynski is finding more and more pace as he continues on his way, and currently sat in behind Sergio Sebastian will be... Oh, well, if you cut the course like that, you're not going to be finding much more pace. So we check in again with Jeremy Thomas, who's pushing the size of the track to its absolute limits, getting right out on that exit curbing through the loop. He heads out through toe corner, climbing up the hill. Seems slightly tentative on the braking and the throttle through toe. Potentially a bit of time to be found there in his final flying laps. It's a corner that does take quite a lot of bravery from the driver, and it's really deceptive how late you can brake in there, with the vast gradient change really giving the car a significant amount of grip. Jeremy Thomas, just 2 corners to go, using all of the exit curbing, but has thrown away a little bit of his pace as he impacts the wall on the exit of the final corner, and will have to go and try again. As Matthias Peltzer crosses the line, this should see him get a sizable improvement. That's improvement in time, but only 1 position gained in his qualifying, which will put him P18 on the grid for now. As Tadeusz Szynski navigates the bus stop chicane with a little more dignity that time around. And then loses the time through the loop. So Szynski struggling to stitch a lap together at this point. Has still got a couple of minutes remaining in this session. And is, again, still not that far behind Sergi Sebastian. So has still got a reference point ahead of him. And should benefit from a little bit of a tow down some of these longer straights. And with just over 2 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, still Manuel Benz sat on provisional pole position as Sergi Sebastian not able really to make any inroads on that time set quite early on in the session by Benz. Track obviously not improving much as Tadeusz Szynski improves his time and his position up into P10. Still some 5 positions behind, oh sorry, 4 positions behind his E2 rival, Cam Carter. So we'll be needing to make up a number of positions in the race. As Busso has just over 4/10 of a second that he needs, sorry, 4/100ths of a second that he needs to find to jump ahead of Luke Tranmer, but has lost a little bit of time there through the final sector. As he comes through the final corner, won't improve on this lap and will have just one more attempt. That's a flying lap to try and unseat Luke Tranmer in P4. Sergi Sebastian setting some awfully consistent laps tonight. At the moment, exactly 0.000 seconds on the delta. Seemingly unable to make any inroads into that time of Benz. We'll try and carry the speed out of the final corner, brushing the wall on the exit. He will cross the line with just enough time left for one flying lap, but no, I think out of fuel there for Sebastian. In the end, that gap at 0.472 seconds. And Manuel Benz with a quite comfortable pole position in the end. As our first driver to cross the line and take the checkered flag will be Antrax, currently sitting in P9. It doesn't look like we're seeing improvements out of anyone else. As Cam Carter on a very similar lap time to his previous best. As he climbs the hill through toe curve. Up onto the sole of the boot. And through the hill. And it doesn't look like Cam Carter is going to improve on this lap unless he gets a phenomenal run through the final sector. Currently a couple of tenths down. And as he steps out of the track limits on the final corner, that will bring our qualifying session to an end. And as our drivers line up on the grid, I'll just remind you of our championship standings, where currently Manuel Benz is leading the way, not only leading the way, has scored enough points to secure himself the championship win already with 2 races remaining to go. Congratulations to our championship winner for season 19. But behind that, we have got close battles for P2 between Cam Carter and Tadeusz Szynski. And with those drivers separated with 4 cars between them, it will be interesting to see if Szynski can try and close down that gap. And then the real battle is over P4 with potentially 10 drivers could be in the mix for that final, or sorry, not for that final, for the just outside of the medal positions. So as our drivers do line up on the grid, we can run you through our starting order for tonight's race. And on pole position is a familiar face. We have got Manuel Benz, followed by Sergi Sebastian on the front row. Behind them will be Schricker and Trammer. There's the white BMW and the black and yellow McLaren there. Then we have the Mercedes of Busso. Alongside him is Terje Fredriksson. And Cam Carter next to Busso. Then Terje Fredriksson is the yellow Lamborghini, and he is alongside Balazs Feher in the pink Audi. And then we have got Andratz qualifying P9 in that Ferrari, with Dai Sosinski in the green and yellow McLaren. Then in the grey and blue Porsche, we have Sam McCarthy, followed by Svoboda, and Thomas Kroos, Nemeth in the yellow Ferrari, alongside Kotick in the pink BMW. We then have Chris Wright driving the blue Ferrari, with Matthias Peltzer alongside him. P19 is Christopher Elberg, followed by Paul Cook. We have Florent de Moor and Beckingham. In the Audi is Romby, followed by Nitro in that purple and orange Porsche. Then have Milner and Mulder there in the purple Nissan. And rounding up the back of the grid is Steve Goosens in the police liveried McLaren. And in the pits, if the drunk Helicam would like to focus, is Gregor Michalak, who will be serving a pit lane penalty for tonight's race. And as Sergi Sebastian leads the field away on this formation lap. It's an exceptionally long formation lap here at Watkins Glen, with the speed that they have to drive down that incredibly long straight. We have some time to admire the liveries on display throughout the field, as drivers weave to get temperature into the tyres. Not sure how effective that is in the ACC simulation, but really just at this point, drivers feeling the grip, trying to get that confidence. As Dai Sosinski will be looking forward on track, has got Cam Carter within his view, and will be just a couple of rows behind his rival for P2 in the championship. And we'll need to show some patience at the start. Races cannot be won at the first corner, but they can very certainly be lost there. As Chris Wright running down in P16. Fan favourite driver will be looking to try and move forward. Usually shows a bit more race pace and a bit more race, let's say, sensibility when it comes to avoiding incidents. So should see him move forward. And down in P24 is Nitro. We'll be looking to move forward in the race. Usually quite a sensible driver. And again, quite good at avoiding incidents. And in P26, chasing down the field will be Steve Goosens in that police interceptor car. And, well, I imagine he will be trying not to intercept too many of the incidents that may be happening in front of him. And Kevin Mulder in our Soul Nissan out on the field. I think Soul Nissan for quite a good reason. Not the most competitive of cars in this current balance of performance. And as they come around the final couple of corners, it will be Manuel Benz who will lead the field away as we come through the final corner onto the start finish straight. Hopefully the drivers do ignore the instructions over the pit entry. We don't want to see anyone going bowling into turn 1 here at Watkins Glen. That's green flag waves, and it is a good start from Sergi Sebastian as Manuel Benz moves over to cover him off. Actually, Benz getting ahead, and it is Roland Stricker looking up the inside of Sebastian. That's behind. We're seeing most of the drivers through successfully. Background, Chris Wright dropping down into P17 as they emerge over the S's. Few changes in position throughout the field as Tadeusz Szynski moving forward up to P9 already and looking around the outside of Balázs Fejhit. They come through the chicane. We've got a car off in the distance. That is Attila Nameth, who has found the barrier off in the gravel. But at the front of the field, still Manuel Benz leading the way ahead of Sergi Sebastian, followed by Roland Stricker, Luke Trammer, Busso, Cam Carter, Terj Fredriksson, Balázs Fejhit, Tadeusz Szynski and Antrax. There's a couple of drivers going out, running a bit wide on the run up toe corner out onto the dirt. So easy to lose some traction out of there as Chris Wright has made his way past Felix Kotick. As Beckeno falling back to P27. I'm not sure what happened to our BMW driver there. As our lead 2 cars beginning to pull a little bit of gap on the rest of the field. Roland Stricker is the one leading a little bit of a train now as the cars behind fan out for a better view into turn 1. Terj Fredriksson should get a good run out of the first corner here as Cam Carter gets a wiggle on through the first corner, and this has opened the door for Terj Fredriksson. And Cam Carter dropping backwards, didn't quite carry the speed out of the first corner, should get the advantage of the slipstream and should pull him back into racing speed as Busso and Trammer go side by side through the chicane as it looked like it was Busso who got bulldozed out of the way that time. Be careful on that runoff, it is bouncy as Busso emerges back on track between Fejhit and Szynski. Very lucky there not to get catapulted off into one of the other cars. And Busso dropping back now as he defends from Szynski, who weaves left, right, left behind him. Szynski in that all-important fight for P2 in the championship will be looking to try and move forward. As you can see, Cam Carter he made his way now back past Terj Fredriksson. He's back under pressure. Fredriksson's going to have the outside line on this long hairpin. Not the optimal line through the corner as Carter holds on to P5. As the train behind is a long one. All the way from P4 down to P21. Separated by less than a second. And now Terj Fredriksson with a real opportunity here. Got a great exit from the final corner. Has got the run into turn 1. But Cam Carter staying ahead. Yellow flags seen there for Christopher Elberg. what has happened here. Oh, a bit of a slide and almost an unintentional entry into the pit lane as Christopher Elber getting a very compromised straight line speed on the start-finish straight, and sees him dropping backwards. Up in P5, Cam Carter and Turge Fredrickson still continue to do battle as this snake slithers its way through the bus stop chicane. And Sam McCarthy has made his way past Kenny Crows as the drivers again in the background fanning out, trying to find position. As Jeremy Thomas looking up the inside of Kenny Crows. Kenny Crows losing out 2 positions in just as many corners. And now Svoboda looking around the outside in our sole Honda on the circuit tonight. They emerge onto the sole of the boots. Svoboda having a glance as Chris Wright gets his way past Felix Kotick again. Holds on to P15 for now. Chris Wright moving forward from the start of this race. As up at the front of the field, battle continuing between Benz and Sebastian. That pace advantage we were seeing from Benz in qualifying, not quite translating over as drastically in the race. As powerful as that slipstream is on that back straight, I suspect just keeping Sebastian in contention for now. The gap's starting to open up now at 0.8 seconds. As we keep an eye on that battle throughout the race. Tadeusz Sosinski still in P9 and has Antrax for company right in the slipstream as they come down the back straight. Sosinski defending the inside for the chicane. Antrax should be able to carry that little bit more speed through the sequence of corners and rolls the speed through the loop. He's got yellow flags out for Jeremy Thomas. Side by side with Sam McCarthy into the chicane, and well, I think taking a tight line into the chicane. Whew, lucky there to get out of the way at the last moment was Jeremy Thomas there. Lost a whole chunk of positions, but crucially keeping his car pointing in the right direction and in one piece. And Cam Carter continues to lead ahead of Fredrickson, Fahir and Busso, with Sosinski desperate to want to join up onto the back of this fight. Very important for his hopes of taking P2 in this championship. As further down the field, we have got continuation of that train from earlier in the race, now only going from P2 down to P19, but that does include Crows, Svoboda, Wright, Kotick, Demore, Peltzer, Cook and Thomas. And Thomas, after that spin at the chicane, will be wanting to move himself forward as Wright tucked up behind Svoboda, who's in turn right in the slipstream of Crows ahead. Could be a good run here for Svoboda. I do know that that Honda has, or historically has had good straight line speed. Not quite enough to get alongside the run into the chicane. And it looks like everyone keeping that pointed well in the right direction, although Kotick running quite wide there at the chicane, getting an almighty slide on, and that has allowed Florent Demore up the inside as Kotick and Demore go side by side through the chute. Florent Demore holding on to that position ahead of Kotick, Peltzer, Cook and Thomas. As up ahead, you can see Chris right now tucked right up underneath that rear wing of Svoboda. And we'll see if we can help Svoboda out at all. Swapping over to rear wing cam. As Chris Wright doing well to resist the curse so far. As we head into turn 1, this is where Chris Wright wants to try and carry the speed and using all of the track and then some. Great sound from that Honda engine, VTEC power. As Cam Carter is now caught up to Luke Tranmer and has brought Terj Fredriksson with him. As, yellow flag for Kotick. We did see him having trouble at the chicane before, and looks like he's having further troubles. What has happened for Kotick? Again, running wide at the second part of the chicane. It's what we saw a lap earlier, slightly more dramatic fashion this time. As Cam Carter and Terj Fredriksson go side by side into Hill. And these two have been battling hard since this race started. And Fredriksson all over the back of Cam Carter. As we head into the final corner. And just see as he gains through the straight. This first corner hit, the all-important one to try and get a decent exit from. And this looks like a good run for Terj Fredriksson. Right up under that rear wing. As we've got a front row seat for this attack here from Terj Fredriksson. Where will he go? Sticking in behind for now, but the slipstream is going to be powerful. As Terj Fredriksson sticks a nose to the outside, not far enough alongside to really go for a move. And Cam Carter survives for another run down that long back straight, but how long can he do that for? That is the question. As Jeremy Thomas, trying to fight his way forward, is now caught up behind fellow Lamborghini of Paul Cook in P17. And looks like there's been some battling behind between Tadeusz Sosinski and Antrax, as Sosinski gets that position back and is not able to focus on moving forward as he would like, currently having to defend for his life. Sosinski keeping ahead for now. Antrax has been very persistent on that assault, has been stuck right up under that rear wing. As Svoboda now has caught back onto the back of Kenny Kroos, having dropped away earlier on. Ooh, as looks like there's been quite the incident involving 3 cars here. So Jeremy Thomas and Paul Cook going side by side. Nothing too amiss there. Jeremy Thomas makes his way nicely through in the boots. And on the exit. Oh, Jeremy Thomas getting a big tank slapper on there. Side swipes the car of... Oh, and that was actually... not quite sure on the angle there, but looking like Romby just keeping Elberg pinned into the Lamborghini, but not trying to move around the outside of it. So, interesting crash there, which looked completely avoidable for maybe everyone there but Elberg, who was penned in. Sosinski has caught up onto the back of Busso now. Not sure if Busso suffering from a mistake earlier on in this lap, or Zelensky just powering on? As we've got battling behind, as Gregor Michalak trying to make his way past Kevin Mulder, who I think has just been passed by Elberg after his earlier struggles. There's some good battling going on further down the field. As Gregor Michalak moves his way up into P23. We emerge back onto back straight. Turge Fredriksson chasing down Cam Carter through the chicane. Turge Fredriksson taking an awful lot of curb there, and I think trying to cut the line down so significantly has cost himself a little bit of speed there. And Turge Fredriksson able to keep close, but not close enough to go for a move just yet, as Antrax and Szynski going side by side yet again. Szynski holding on to that crucial inside line, not allowing Antrax to way through, but all the time that he's defending from Antrax, that potential battle with Cam Carter slipping further and further away. Antrax again deep in the slipstream. We'll just look to follow Szynski through this section of track. Will he try and line something up into the hairpin? A little bit too far back to go for an optimistic dive. And as they emerge onto the start-finish straight, the gap at just 0.4 seconds, Antrax in that slipstream is going to want to try and optimize the exit of the first corner. We watch from the rear wing camera. Easiest way to see what that run is like, and it looks like that time around Szynski with the advantage, able to keep ahead of Antrax and just now concentrate on his own lines through the next couple of corners. Doesn't have to bother with trying to defend. As behind these two, Florent de Moor and Matthias Peltzer, the battle of the Porkers. Do not adjust your television sets. This is still the VIP trophy. We haven't switched over to the Porsche Cups. But the Porsche 992 GT3 car does have as much of a glorious engine sound as its Porsche Cup counterparts. As they come through the boot, sorry, the heel of the boot. Still keeping plenty close. As Gregor Michalak and Nitro go side by side. And Gregor Michalak up into P20 after that pit lane start. Is going well in this race, as we've had just one stopper so far in this race. Paul Cook, having served his mandatory pit stop. I believe that is to repair damage. As Cam Carter and Turge Fredriksson continue to battle. As Jeremy Thomas dives into the pit lane. Matthias Peltzer and Florent de Moor side by side yet again as they come through the chicane. And de Moor holding on to the position. As very, very close battling there between the two of them. Felt almost sure they were going to come to blows, but well controlled from the pair. As now Milne and Beckingham come through the chicane, and Alan Milne holding on to P22 in this race. There's close battling up and down this field, and yet again Watkins Glen providing the action. As Balazs Fahey finds himself in a comfortable and familiar position at the front of a train. There's a skilled driver in just managing his own pace, driving his own lines, doesn't get slowed down too much by actively defending his position. Does help that he's got that mighty Audi power out of the corners to hold on to those positions. But doesn't let the pressure get to him too much. A good skill from Fahey has done him well in so many of these races, as Luke Tranmer getting up and past Roland Schricker into the bus stop chicane, moves to the inside, a great overspeed, late on the brakes, and that is a great committed move there from Luke Tranmer. Trusted Roland Schricker to give him the space, deep on the brakes. I think if Schricker hadn't have given him the space there, could have been an almighty collision. A good move, and that sees Luke Tranmer now taking what could end up being the final spot on the podium. As we rejoin Balazs Fahey at the head of the train. Train has been caught up by Szynski and Antrax, who do both want to move their way forward. Has just seen yellow flags for Svoboda taking a big slide through the tow, and thankfully kept himself out of the wall, so will not be requiring a TOW tow. As yet again coming through first corner are Cam Carter and Turge Fredrickson. And now Fredrickson, seeming like as soon as he pulls out of the slipstream, just losing that pace advantage, and just nothing going here the way of Turge Fredrickson. He's able to tuck himself right up under the rear wing of Cam Carter. I wonder if he's just wonder if it's just a different setup there being run by Turge Fredrickson, which means as soon as he pulls out of the slipstream, he's just got too much drag on that car and can't pull alongside. As the Balazs snake continues to wind its way around the boot. I could have made a better joke there. We'll come to it in a couple of laps time if this is still going on. I've got one there. You probably know what it is, but I got one. As Luke Tranmer's not been able to drop Roland Schricker. Has got past with that very committed move into the bus stop chicane, but Roland Schricker clearly still with the pace and keeping with Luke Tranmer. As the Fahey train now emerges onto the S's as they wind their way around. It's Audi ahead of Mercedes, ahead of McLaren, ahead of Ferrari. And I know we get many complaints of the BOP in ACC, and sometimes justifiably so, but it is lovely to see so many cars from different manufacturers competitive together on the grid. If we just ignore the two Ferraris leading the way. Still, Luke Tranmere holding on ahead of Roland Schricker. It's the battle for P3, that final podium position. There's now the chance for Schricker to see if he can get that better exit. Looks like very similar exits for the two of them. Schricker dropping back ever so slightly from the back of Luke Tranmere, who just needs to knuckle down now and see if he can start pulling away. As behind them, Cam Carter and Terj Fredriksson continue to have this scrap, which has been going on since the start of this race. We're now almost at the halfway mark, and I think Terj Fredriksson is just going to have to hope that he can do something with the pit window, which is, well, has been open since the start of the race, but with the pit options selected for the VIP trophy, we do have one mandatory pit stop for each driver, with a mandatory tyre change and no refueling, meaning that, of course, the optimal strategy would be to pit at the exact midpoint of the race and get the absolute best out of your two sets of tyres. However, if you're like Terj Fredriksson and you're finding yourself caught up behind another car lap after lap, you may wish just to try and dive in a bit early, or even stay out a bit longer and just see if you can get an overtake done in the pits and not have to sit in the tow of another car lap after lap. As this train continues to chew its way through this Watkins Glen circuit, Busso looking for a way past Balazs Feher, and I think this must be the best opportunity he's had so far, right up under the rear wing of that Audi, using that Mercedes power. Will he risk a dive up the inside? No, he does not. Stays in behind. Couldn't coax a mistake out of Feher. And I think Busso maybe slightly running in the back of his mind the fact that he did whip himself off into the wall in the Porsche Cup race on Monday, and would probably like to avoid the same fate, and probably won't be too happy with me continuously going to the rear wing cam that did ever so curse him in Monday's race and sent him flying into the wall. As Busso carrying so much more speed through the heel of the boot. But yet to find a way past Feher as we do approach the midway point of the race. Is anyone going to go for the undercut? At the moment, everyone's staying out as we've got yellow flags at the back of the field as Christopher Elberg spins it, and I'm watching a long replay of this one because I did see another car get involved in this one as, oh no, just an unfortunate moving rejoin there as Elba moves into the way of Mott and then spins it again on his... okay, I don't think he's going to be too happy with me showing that one. That one, a little bit embarrassing there. Still. Oh, actually, Busso managing to get past Faye here. Apologies, we missed that one as we were watching the ever so exciting crash earlier. But Busso up into P7. And Busso going to look to try and pull a gap on Balazs, as they all come around the final few corners. Now is about the time we should expect to see some drivers make their mandatory pit stop. So let's see if any of these drivers in this battle will be coming into pit. So far, only 5 drivers have stopped so far in this race, as it looks like Busso staying out, Balazs staying out, Tadeusz and Antrax all staying out for now, so no one wanting to dive off and serve an early pit stop, as Antrax dropping way back there out of this battle. As this is the reason why so many drivers must have been staying out, as I completely missed the weather forecast there. As looking like the rain will persist for about 10 minutes, but or up to half an hour, I guess. Didn't see when that switched over. So some bad commentary or some bad, yeah, not the best awareness there from me, as I didn't quite realise the rain was coming. But as the wipers go on, this will be, I imagine, when we start to see the drivers peel off into the pit lane. Track conditions greasy at the moment, but with the rain stopping in less than 10 minutes, I wonder what these drivers will choose to do. As I don't think it's necessarily worth going to the wet tyres, especially with the rain decreasing. It's really going to want to be about keeping the heat in the tyres. And for those drivers who have stayed out, I suspect it will be... it's a tough one, because more rubber on your tyres will help them heat up more. But... whew, Cam Carter and Tadeusz Fredriksson still opting to use as much of the curb as they were in the dry. Very sketchy stuff here from the 2 Lamborghinis, cars which aren't the most stable at the best of times. And with that naturally aspirated Audi V10 in the back of those cars, lots of grunt low down, really relying on that traction control to keep the rear wheels in track. And so what we're seeing, more and more drivers dive into the pit. Unfortunately not able to see what style of tyre they are going for. No cut slicks here in the GT World Challenge. You've got your options between your slicks or your full wets. So what are these drivers going for? As Cam Carter goes very deep into the chute. Tadeusz Fredriksson with the better exit, but I don't think going to have enough speed to make a move into tow, as Cam Carter getting very sideways again. And I think this is just where the low downforce setup that we think maybe Cam Carter has gone for, with that straight line speed advantage he's had, maybe being the undoing here in these wet conditions, as the rear of that car is sliding around all over the place. Now as Tadeusz Fredriksson looks to the inside, will either of them opt to dive off into the pits to waste the rain time, as chat puts it? Nope, both opting to stay out, as are Tranmere and Schricker. And Stricker putting that BMW traction control to good use and taking that inside line, taking the position from Luke Tranmer that Tranmer took away from him with that ever so brave dive earlier on. As the conditions changed, the grip coming the way of the BMW. As Tranmer and Stricker head through the chicane, so do Cam Carter and Terz Fredriksson now. And Cam Carter looking like he's struggling out there. Either a low downforce setup or maybe he's just taken a little bit too much life out of those tyres. Not able to keep the heat on them at this stage in the stint. And I wonder, has the track being damp now, beyond the greasy stage, as the BMW of Beckenen not being careful enough in these conditions out into the wall. The track is now damp. This would favour any drivers which are currently running the wet tyres. However, that advantage may be short-lived, as looking like the track's going to start drying up quite soon. So, yep, think Busso is running the wet tyres here. The 10... As, okay, you now need to correct me with the phonetic spelling in chat, please. You can't say that and not offer a correction. As Cam continuing to be chased by Fredriksson. You're asking me to look for a yellow sidewall. Oh, we've got yellow flags out for Steve Goosens. That is the Audi of Romby chasing him down. As Steve Goosens sliding about all over the place, as yellow flags for Balazs Feher. And starting to slide, tries to correct it, slides again. And does well to collect it, keep it pointing in the right direction. Doesn't collect any other cars. As now yellow flags for Svoboda as well. So many cars out there struggling in these conditions. As Svoboda, poor, bigger slide than we saw from Feher earlier, but still manages to get it back on track, facing the right way. Doesn't lose out to that too much. As now yellow flags for Fredriksson. As the track is now fully wet with rain scheduled to stop soon. But this is really going to play into the hands of Busso. If we take a look at the last laps from each of these drivers, I think Busso and Antrax running the wet tyres. Just about everyone else I can see, I think, running the slicks. As we're getting 153s from Busso, 152.9s from Antrax. And across the rest of the field, the fastest we're seeing from Manuel Benz, the 156.5s. Lots of drivers in the 157s, lots of drivers in the 158s, some drivers in the 159s. This is all going the way of Busso and Antrax at the moment. But the question will be, how long will these conditions last, with the track already heading into damp territory, as both Antrax... Oh, that was a glitchy old crash there from Antrax. I wonder if this is also going to be glitchy. Oh, Okay, I think he braked there on the grass and already sideways. Oh, hard to tell actually what there is lag and what is crash, but Antrax with a heavy collision into the wall. And at the moment, considerable amount of field spread. But it is Busso who, as long as he can, well, I say keep his point in the right direction, he's on the right tyres to do so. But those tyres will start to go away from him as this stint goes on. Now, Andy, you'll have to fill us in chat. That max PSI trick, once this gets back to the likes of green, fast, and optimal conditions, if we ever see that again in this race, those wet tyres will still have a disadvantage over the slick, surely. I know in old money, whenever we were looking at the crossover between slicks and wet tyres, it usually be around when the track is in its greasy condition. Not sure if that has changed since the max PSI trick has been found. But Busso finding some incredible pace out there, is now on the back of Svoboda and Demore. Both of these drivers yet to pit, worth pointing out. And well, every car ahead of Busso yet to pit, including Manuel Benz, our race leader. Now, I don't think Busso is going to have the pace advantage to catch our race leader just yet, as Busso, I think, being a little fragrant with the track cutting there. You may want to go and have a look at that one in the steward's booth. But with such a pace advantage at the moment, I think half of that was cutting the track to gain an advantage, half of it was cutting the track to just avoid a collision. As the rain has now stopped, and with 28 cars still out on circuit, there's every chance that this could get could start to dry out. Track temperatures, track conditions already at damp. As we stick with Busso for now. As Felix Cottet making his way through as well. And I wonder, has Cam Carter switched to wet tyres as well? As he seems to have a considerable pace advantage, catching up. Actually, no, he can't have changed to wet tyres because he hasn't changed tyres. He's still on the same set he started the race on. And now, as more and more drivers dive into the pits, Matthias Peltzer diving into the pits, thought it was a yellow flag. No, it's just ACC and the Watkins Glen circuit, misleading us yet again. As Busso rounds the final corner, we'll get the jump on McCarthy, Fahir, Peltzer and Demore, who all sit in the pit lane. And I think Busso is going to jump forward a good number of positions. Has been setting 1 minute 51s, while the next fastest lap has been a 1:55.2 from Manuel Benz. And so doing that for a number of laps could see a considerable advantage over the rest of the field here for Busso. So even though not involved in a direct battle on track, we are going to keep with the Mercedes driver, who may have pulled off a blinder of a strategy tonight. I'm not sure about driver of the day for Busso, but strategist of the day, certainly running that strategy from inside the cockpit. It all came down to chance, really. How much rain was there going to be? How wet were the conditions going to get? If all they did was go down to greasy, may have seen the advantage going to those slick runners. But at this point, Busso has Luke Tranmer, the driver who was running in P4, let us not forget. sorry, P3 at some points. Now in the pit lane, where will Busso appear? We look at the stop time for Luke Tranmer. 15 seconds stopped in the pit so far. I think Busso is going to get the jump on Luke Tranmer. And he has. That is Busso now up into what I imagine must be net P3 in this race. Don't think we've seen an incident for Tranmer, which would suggest he would be, should have dropped back. So great strategy call. And now just remains to be seen if the track conditions stay wet enough for those wet tyres not to drop away too much in the final 15 minutes of this race. So far, Cam Carter holding on in front of Fredrickson. With a considerable amount of field spread coming from those wet conditions. Again, Busso still the leader of those drivers who have pitted. Luke Tranmer is some 13 seconds back from Busso at this point. I don't think Busso is going to be threatening our front two drivers, but everyone else is at threat from the bulldozer. As Sam McCarthy makes his way past Nitro up into P12. Sam McCarthy, another one of those early stoppers. And Chris Wright also having profited quite considerably. I'm not sure if he's also running wet tyres at this point in the race, but currently running just about 15 seconds off of Busso. As Balazs here also making his way forward. And look at that, Balazs here, I think, running the wet tyres, unlapping himself on Manuel Benz. That shows where the balance on the tyres still is at this point. As we'll keep an eye on this. Not necessarily impactful for the race unless there's an almighty shunt. Let's see what is the grip advantage that Balazs has through the loop. The turbo whine on that Ferrari. I think some people love it, some people hate it. Sergi Sebastian dives into the pit lane along with Roland Stricker, Cam Carter, Kenny Kroos, and Busso emerging from the final corner. I think Sergi Sebastian back out on track. Currently going through the S's, so Busso up into a net P3 in this race. As the track condition does tick over to greasy. And now the drama comes from, can Busso hold on to those tyres for these remaining 11.5 minutes? With Antrax, the driver we know behind, is also on the wet tyres. and has had a small incident on those wet tyres earlier on in the race. Looking like Busso's struggling a little bit out there. Now the track conditions have switched over to greasy. As we saw from Busso last time around, a 1 minute 50.6. Our driver's still running on the wet tyres, or sorry, dry tyres, or at least the old dry tyres, still running in the 52s, so a 2-second advantage for Busso. As we have Fredriksson and Szynski to emerge from the pit lane. Expect Manuel Benz will emerge out in the lead of this race. But solid strategy call from Busso tonight as he comes through to lap the Nissan of Mulder. Mulder, who I imagine would be just wishing that the stock version of the Nissan GTR is what is running with its four-wheel drive. But, ladies and gentlemen, everyone watching, we have got a change in the lead for this race. The change to the net lead as Sergi Sebastian, through the pit stops, has taken the lead from Manuel Benz. And if Benz wants to maintain his winning streak, he will need to get past Sebastian on the track. As Sergi Sebastian gets on the blinkers early. He is a man on a mission and does not want to be held up at all. As the red Ferrari of Benz, the number 33 car, bears down on Sergi. That gap has been shrinking rapidly over the course of this lap. Not sure which tyres each of these drivers are running at the moment. Can only imagine it is slicks for both, with them both opting to pit as the track went greasy. As Sergi Sebastian abusing the track limits. He was only going to get away with that so many times, as he is absolutely hounded by Manuel Benz. And, well, I think it's only fair. We haven't had an opportunity to try the cursed camera many times on Manuel Benz. So if we're getting the opportunity, we're going to try and run it. So I think Sergi Sebastian will take any help he can be offered. Manuel Benz closing in right on the back of Sergi Sebastian. Let's keep with this battle for now. As there's another back marker ahead, this time the Audi of Rombi. Almost said Roomba there. Apologies, Rombi. And with just 7 minutes remaining, this is turning into one of the all-time great VIP trophy races, with Sergi Sebastian defending hard from Manuel Benz for the lead of this race. As I'm sure Rombi getting the hell out of the way. As they emerge through the first corner again. Sergi Sebastian under some real pressure here. As we've got battles emerging further down our field, as Chris Wright under pressure from Fredriksson, and Fahir with McCarthy for company. But it is this battle for the lead we are going to keep our eyes on for now. There's actually Fredriksson and Wright going side by side into the first corner. Fredriksson's through up into P7. And also Tranmere getting past Antrax for P4. We keep an eye on the lap times between Busso and Tranmere. And it looks like the wets are not the tyres to be on right now. As we see last lap around, a 1 minute 50 from Busso, a 1 minute 57 from Tranmere, and that was including a move to get around Antrax. So with a 6-second gap, that gap definitely going to close down, and I think we might see a move for the final podium position before this race is out. Sergi Sebastian doing well to soak up the pressure so far. Is really being hounded now by Manuel Benz. As Antrax being passed now by Roland Stricker as well, and has got Cam Carter behind. As Antrax now being swallowed alive by those slick tyre runners. As Jeremy Thomas also makes his way through. And Fredriksson will be next to go on the attack. I think those wet tyre runners perhaps losing out. But as these wet tyre runners who are in the middle of the pack are getting eaten up, Busso still with a 4-second advantage over Luke Tranmere, just needs to hold on. Last time around, 3 seconds the difference in their lap times. So Busso being reeled in by Tranmere at the moment, but not by enough. And as we turn our attention back to the battle for the lead, and Sergi Sebastian has got that gap up to a second now, back to Manuel Benz. Benz taking a little bit more life out of his tyres maybe, as he's pushing to try and apply that pressure, try and force a mistake out of Sergi Sebastian. As we come on to what will be, I think, the penultimate lap of this race. Sergi Sebastian holds position ahead of Manuel Benz. As Chris Wright gets past Manuel Antrax as well. Antrax dropping like a lead balloon through the standings. Those wet tyres have faded drastically as this track has gone from wet to damp to greasy and now to optimum. These wet tyres are going to be absolutely screaming. As Luke Tranmere has now got that gap down to 0.8 seconds. It has got to be just a matter of time before Luke Tranmere finds his way through past Busso. And still, even if he does lose out on this P3 position, it has still been a tactical masterclass from Busso to move himself this far up the grid after running down in the battle over P7. Now to find himself in the battle for P3. Roland Stricker closing in on this battle, but only a couple of laps remaining. Busso defending for his life as we tried to give him all the help we could. The curse cam obviously not as effective against GT3s as it is against Porsche Cups. We'll bear that in mind for next time. As Tranmere all over the back of Busso, but yet to find a way through. Can Busso hold on to this position for now? Just going to have one more lap, and surely is going to be vulnerable through the S's as Trammer's going to have such a better run out of that first corner. Side by side already as they come down the start-finish straight. I think this is all over for Busso. And Luke Trammer moves himself up into P3. Busso remaining in the slipstream. I don't think he's going to have the grip underneath him to try for a move in the chicane. It would be bold and almost foolish to decide to do so. But as exciting as this battle for P3 is, it is the battle for the lead, which we didn't really see coming. But as Manuel Benz emerged from the pit lane behind Sergi Sebastian, Sergi doing fantastic work to keep the number 33 car behind him for the final stint of this race. And as the clock ticks down to 0, we've got just a couple of corners to run in this race. And then we get to say a surprising race that we have seen emerge in front of us. But as the checkered flag waves, and congratulations must go to Sergi Sebastian for a fantastically run race. Unlucky there for Manuel Benz, who has to make do with P2. And Luke Trammer has got himself up into P3. And Cam Carter up into P4 with Roland Stricker in P5. So Cam Carter getting past Stricker and Busso on that final lap. Busso dropping backwards at a rate of knots, but I think he'd be happy with that P6. He rolled the dice on that strategy and it paid off. And well, if this race was just a couple of laps shorter, we would have been saying that Busso managed to strategy himself onto the podium. Wasn't to be, had to make do with P6, but well done for trying that. Fredriksson taking home P7 in that race, followed by Tadej Szynski in P8, who will see his points drop away from Cam Carter in that battle for P2 in the championship. Chris Wright brings it home in P9 with Balazs Fahir in P10. Sam McCarthy, P11 with Antrax, P12. Crows in a close battle to the line with Matthias Peltzer. They take P13 and 14. Florent de Moor takes P15. Svoboda will come to cross the line in P16. And Gregor Mishrak will be our final finisher on the lead lap. Will take P17. Well, thank you very much for watching, everyone. That was certainly a much more exciting race than I think anyone was expecting. And yeah, do put your votes for driver of the day in the chat. And I think, yeah, it's a hard one to decide there between a great strategy call from Busso or the fantastic outlap there by Sergi Sebastian to take the win here at Watkins Glen. And yeah, the VIP trophy, the Go Setups VIP trophy, really delivering there in that final stint. What a race. And well, a big thank you to all of our drivers for putting on a fantastic show. Great battling, great racing, great intelligence from a lot of the drivers out there. And yeah, it was good to actually see a mixed strategy for once in one of these races. Different choices of the tyres meant for a very, very exciting end of that race. And as we wait for our championship standings to recalculate, as we see in chat, looking like many of you out there thinking that driver of the day should go to Busso for that the bold strategy call. Didn't quite pay off as much as he maybe hoped by the end, but still was worth a shot, and must have earned at least a few positions in the end there. as we still wait for our standings. To remind you of our order in that race, it was Sergi Sebastian winning ahead of Manuel Benz, followed by Luke Tranmer. I'm now trying to remember off the top of my head because I can't see it on my screen. Roland Schricker, Busso GT in P6, followed by Fredriksson, Szynski, Wright and Fahir rounding out the top 10. And well, we have got just one round remaining in the VIP, the Go Setups VIP trophy, and that will be a return to South Africa to the Kyalami circuit, a favourite for drivers and spectators alike. Great circuit for racing, and there's a few tricky corners in there. With the all-famous Kyalami Salami ready to catch out any unwary drivers. As we take a look at, I can run you through the championship standings, is still Manuel Benz way out in the front, as we knew he had already taken the championship win. But with that win for Sergi Sebastian, Manuel Benz has been denied a perfect points finish, can at most claim 10 points off of the maximum with 2 second places and a P6 to his name. As the drop rounds come into account, he can't get that 880 point maximum run. As Cam Carter extends his lead over to Dyer Szynski. Now that gap at 29 points as we head into the final round of the season. And the battle for P4 is now being led by Roland Schricker ahead of Busso, Balazs Fahir, Fredriksson, Thomas Pirello. And now we've got a bit more of a gap back to P9 with Jeremy Thomas on 421 points. So still a lot to play for as we head into the final round of the season. And as my game did crash because I stayed in the session too long, I will be just a moment to load up the highlights for tonight's race, which I am sure there are many, as our drivers did put on one hell of a show for us tonight. As we load up the highlights, just remains me to say thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you did enjoy this broadcast, please do like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And if you want to join in the exciting racing over at pitskill.io, please do use the referral link in the description below. Plenty of racing there for new drivers and experienced veterans alike, with our double dash short races throughout the day and all the way up to the VIP trophy that you've just watched tonight. There's something for everyone. So please do enjoy the highlights of tonight's race, and we will be back next week. Good night.